Okay, this video is practicing inverse functions and kind of doing the basics that we've learned. And the one thing about inverse functions, and this is basically on Inverse Functions Lab 1, and we did this in class, is that if you have a function f of x, we'll say, and these are your points on the graph AB, when you do the inverse, and this is what it looks like, f inverse, it's like to raise to the negative 1, but you don't say that, you say f inverse of x, then all your points are switched. So what this lab is helping you kind of look at the overall. This front page, and I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm going to kind of give you a heads up. It says, how do you decide if the function is invertible or not? Invertible means, does it have an inverse? Because not all functions have an inverse. And there's a cool test, because math people like to have a cool test, and it's called the horizontal line test. So all you do is you graph this, and then you draw a horizontal line that goes this way. If it crosses more than once, it's not invertible, or it does not have an inverse. So I'm going to pick one here. I'm going to do number 6. And this is the absolute value of x. So I'm going to do a sketch of this. So all of these you can do on your graphing calculator. That's a little crooked, but. And an absolute value function looks like this. So I sketched a graph, a nice sketch. This is x and y. And then I'm going to test this to see if it's invertible. So I'm going to do a horizontal line test. As you can see, as I do the horizontal line, I cross more than one time. So no, this is not invertible. It does not have an inverse. So that's what you're going to do for the 5 above here, is graph them all and look at them and see, does it pass the horizontal line test? So you should have a sketch of a graph for each one of these and show me the horizontal line test. And online, I put yes and no. And so you can just check yourself and say, oh, does this have an inverse? Is it invertible? All you have to do is say yes and no, and you can tell by using the horizontal line test. So I do love this test a lot because it really does help. The back part of this graph, or this lab, excuse me, it says, please check out if each of these functions are inverses of each other. So I told everybody in class, you didn't have to sketch the graph, that again, we're going to use that point, that if you have the points A, B, then I know on my inverse, the points are going to be switched. So all I want you to do, and I'm going to show you number 7, and just so you know, all of these are inverses of each other, so they're all yeses all the way down, is that all I want you to do is to graph each one separately. So here's my first graph of h of x, and I'm just going to make a table. And then here's the graph of k of t. All right, so you're going to do a graph. And then all I want you to do is look at the points. So when I look at the graph of radical 2x, I bring up my table and I pick some nice points. These are the points I picked: 0, 0, because they're nice points, 2, 2, 8, 4, and then I picked another one, 18, 6. The reason why I picked another one, because these two don't really help me if I switch them. When I switch 0, 0, it's still 0, 0. So then my new graph over here, so here's my x's and y's, I should have 0, 0, 2, 2, which doesn't really help me. But then I should see the point 4, 8, and 6, 18. So then I would graph this one separately. You don't have to sketch the graph, but just so I actually switch the points and just see, are those there? If they're there, yes, they're inverses of each other. And so on this graph, excuse me, I keep saying that, on this lab, all you have to do is just to give me a few points and pick some nice ones as you graph each one. The one I want to caution you is if there is a t here, you have to use x's for them. So don't put any t's in your graphing calculator. It's not going to help. Use x's for everything. But here you're going to do f of x, okay? And you're going to set up a few points that you like, okay? Pick some nice ones, 3 or 4 is all you need. And then here's g of t, but you graph with an x. And then I have x, y. Whatever points I find here, I want you to flip them, put them over here, and then just graph the second one and say, hey, are those points there? Simple as that. So that's all this lab was. Everybody finished it in class, but it kind of just reinforces what inverse functions are. So I have all the answers online, so good luck. And if you have any questions, give me a shout.